Hi, this is TD Mackenzie. Let me ask you a question. What if the biggest reason people struggle to achieve their most important dreams has nothing to do with motivation, discipline, intelligence, or effort? What if the real problem is much simpler? Your mind is still treating your dreams as something you're waiting for in the future, instead of something you already know is yours. Now think about your biggest goal right now, your financial goal, your relationship, your health, your business, your personal success. Now here's something interesting. You don't spend every day trying to achieve things your mind already accepts as true. You don't wake up trying to believe your own name. You don't need daily motivation to accept where you live. You don't spend hours convincing yourself about things that are already part of your reality. Why? Because your mind has accepted them as facts. There is no debate, no uncertainty, no internal argument. They simply are. And after more than 20 years helping people with personal transformation, goal achievement, and creating change, I discovered something fascinating. There is a completely different psychological relationship between something you want and something your mind accepts as already yours. They are not the same state. Most people spend years living in the gap between the two, the gap between wanting and having, between hoping and knowing, between trying and being. And that gap changes everything. Because the person trying to become successful and the person operating from the certainty that success is inevitable do not think the same way. They do not make the same decisions. They do not notice the same opportunities. They do not respond to challenges the same way. One is trying to reach the destination. The other is operating from the destination. And that difference can transform everything. Think about the greatest achievers in the world. They do not achieve extraordinary things because they spend every day hoping they might succeed. They operate from a completely different internal reality, a level of certainty about themselves and their future that can seem unreasonable to everyone else. Before the evidence appears, before the world agrees, before the results are obvious, that internal certainty changes everything. The entrepreneur who knows they are building something extraordinary does not make the same decisions as someone hoping things work out. The person who knows they are worthy of an incredible relationship does not behave the same way as someone afraid they will never find one. The person who knows they can overcome challenges does not respond the same way as someone who believes circumstances control their future. Because your identity determines your actions determine your results. This is why accepting your goal as done is so powerful. You are no longer trying to drag yourself towards a better future. You begin operating from that future. Your confidence changes, your standards change, your decisions change, your persistence changes. You develop a level of self-belief that may not match your current circumstances, but matches the destination you are moving towards. The kind of certainty seen in people who build billion-dollar companies, the kind of certainty seen in people who overcome impossible challenges, the kind of certainty seen in people who create lives others once believed were unrealistic. At some point before the world saw the evidence, they accepted something internally first. They knew, and everything else followed. Now think about your biggest dreams. How much time have you spent thinking about them? Not the dreams themselves, the questioning, the analyzing, the worrying, the doubting, the wondering when it will finally happen, the searching for reassurance, the frustration, the emotional roller coaster. But here's the strange part. The goal itself isn't causing that. The uncertainty is. Because if you knew with absolute certainty that your 3 biggest goals were already achieved, what would disappear? The fear, the doubt, the anxiety, the urgency, the constant checking, the need for reassurance. The mental battle would end. Why? Because your mind would no longer relate to the goal as something missing. It would relate to it as something done. But this is where most approaches struggle. Most methods attempt to create this state through repetition. Repeat the affirmation, repeat the visualization, repeat the new belief, repeat the new behavior. The hope is that eventually your mind accepts this new reality. And sometimes it does. But for many people, months pass, years pass. The same doubts return, the same fears appear, the same patterns repeat. Because they are trying to convince themselves of something part of their mind still questions. But history shows something incredible. People can change instantly. A single experience, a powerful realization, a moment of clarity, one conversation, one shift in perspective, and suddenly they never see themselves or their future the same way again. The mind doesn't always need years to change. Sometimes it simply needs the right shift. That observation became the foundation of rapid alignment coaching. Rapid alignment coaching is not designed to give you another technique. It's not another daily exercise. It's not another routine you have to force yourself to maintain. It was created for one purpose: to help your mind make the shift from seeing your biggest goals as something you are chasing to something internally accepted as already achieved. Because when that shift happens, everything changes. Your inner dialogue changes. Your emotional reactions change. Your decisions change. Your behavior changes. The same goal that once created pressure, fear, and uncertainty starts feeling natural. You are no longer fighting to become that person. You begin operating as that person. Most approaches try to push you towards the goal. Rapid alignment coaching works differently. It shifts the person pursuing the goal. Because when you change who you believe yourself to be, you change what feels natural, possible, and inevitable. Most coaching asks you to trust the process before you experience the result. I believe that is backwards. When you buy a car, you test drive it first. When you buy software, you use a free trial. When you buy clothes, you try them on. You experience the value before making the decision. So why should personal transformation be any different? That's why I'm not asking you to believe rapid alignment coaching works. I'm inviting you to experience the shift yourself. Bring your 3 biggest goals, the goals you have wanted for years, the goals that matter most, the goals where, despite everything you have tried, something still feels incomplete. In one private 45-minute rapid alignment coaching session, we work through all 3. By the end of that session, you will experience what happens when your mind stops treating those goals as distant dreams and begins relating to them from the perspective of already achieved. No constant questioning, no endless searching, no trying to force yourself to believe. You will know from your own experience whether the shift has happened. And here's my guarantee. If by the end of your session you do not experience a clear internal shift in how your mind relates to even one of your 3 goals, from something you are chasing to something that feels naturally accepted, you pay absolutely nothing. No risk, no obligation, no months of waiting. Just one session designed to create the mental shift many people spend years trying to reach. If you are ready to experience what changes when your biggest goals stop feeling like distant dreams and start feeling like the natural direction of your life, click the link below and book your rapid alignment coaching session. Because once your mind experiences what it feels like when the future you have been chasing finally feels real now, you will never look at achieving your dreams the same way again.